I didn't hear, you said I wasn't that happy, or? I looked happy, sorry. No, I was, I mean, obviously, because I felt good on the court in general and played well. Of course, coming into the match with Jeremy, I knew the score head-to-head is quite positive, so of course you do have a little bit more of a confidence coming into a match, knowing that you never lost to your opponent. But you know, he was playing well here last couple of matches, and I saw him play. He was serving well, and obviously center court is played slightly slower than other courts. Excuse me. So of course that was more favorable for me to be able to get some of the serves that maybe on the other courts would be more difficult to get. First set was great. I mean, I started off with a very solid game, put a lot of returns back in play. Yes, he was making errors. And then, of course, second set it changed because he started serving with more percentage and less errors from the back of the court. Forehand was lethal. He was really making a lot of winners, and it was tough. You know, I was set point down. I found my first serve, and I thought that last two matches serve has been working really well. So I think in this kind of conditions, that obviously is quite an advantage.
Novak, well done today.
Thank you.
Rafa made some quite interesting comments yesterday about the next generation. He was kind of saying, disagreeing with the view that it's harder now for players to win a first Grand Slam kind of as a teenager or, you know, below the age of 20.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you agree with that viewpoint, or whether you think, you know, there have been such physical advances in the men's game and in sports science as a whole that it's tougher now for young guys like Auger-Aliassime, for example, to win a slam below the age of 20.
I think, first of all, I believe in general, you know, something that will probably never change is that, you know, biologically, if you're younger, you know, recover faster, you have, you know, more, I guess, capacities to train and to build. So, you know, that is an advantage age-wise, for sure, because that's how biology works. So from that point of view, whether, you know, whether we're now or 50 years ago or 50 years from now, I think it's going to be the same. Technology has advanced, absolutely, with rackets and of course balls and everything else, but also I think quality of preparation, recovery, just some insights, sports scientific insights that I think tennis players and all the athletes in general have access to nowadays. You know, that hasn't been the case maybe 20, 30 years ago. So for sure that is complementing the overall quality of the game, I think, for all of us. And, you know, I remember when I was breaking through to the top 100 and coming into professional tennis waters as a teenager, it was definitely less professional approach from players than it is today. I mean, of course, with exceptions of the top guys, but I think now you have just a much larger group of players, more players in general, that are taking care of their bodies, what they eat, how, you know, how much they sleep, what they, you know, the whole thing is, because it matters, you know, especially in this sport that is individual, so you can't really rely on anybody else but yourself. And to the last point, whether it's more difficult or not to make a breakthrough today than it was maybe when Nadal and I were doing that, I think in terms of point system, it is, because when we were coming up, there was a different ranking point system in place, and there was not as much of a distance or this balance between the opening rounds and the later rounds, and it was, I think, a little bit more evenly distributed. So ranking standpoint, points standpoint, I think it's more difficult. But at the same time, because of all the advancements that we talked about and just the amount of tournaments that you have and I think for most of the guys also coming from the countries where federations are strong and financially stable, also they have big teams of people right away. I mean, as soon as they get on a junior tour level, you already see them with coaches, physios. That was never the case before. So there are definite advancements. So it's kind of both ways in a way.
Jeremy Chardy said he found you maybe a little bit nervous at the end of the match. Do you agree with him? Or?
Well, I don't think I have been more nervous than what I usually am when you're facing a set point, and the game, or so to say, the match is close. Of course, everyone is nervous. I mean, now how you handle that, how you control that, that's different, So I haven't felt, extremely nervous or anything like that. It was normal because he was up in the score in the second set. I was kind of chasing the whole second set. He played well and he was 1 point away to win a set. So of course I felt my nerves a little bit that game, but nothing particular.
Hi Novak. Tomorrow, if you win tomorrow, you win 3 matches in a row for the first time since the Australian Open. How will you assess your performance over the past 4 months, and how much do you think you need to improve, if any, for the next couple of weeks?
Well, I thought since probably Queens last year, I've had, great, very high level of tennis all the way to the end of the Australian Open. I mean, most of the events that I played, I reached, I think, finals at least, and after Australian Open I had a long break. Indian Wells, Miami and Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo was definitely better than Indian Wells and Miami. In Indian Wells, Miami, I haven't felt my best. I haven't played my best. And look, it's all a learning curve. I think, especially when you are losing in early rounds and matches that you're supposed to win against players you're supposed to win. Of course, it does feel disappointing, especially because I was on such a roll for so long. But at the same time, I have to move on, and it's not the first time in my career that I'm kind of experiencing those ups and downs. I try to keep it as stable as possible, not to have too big of a extreme kind of swings, but everyone plays their best, when they're playing against the top players. So I mean, it's kind of a huge challenge always to overcome any match, on the big tournaments, because everyone is motivated. But that's fine, it's, as I said, I'm experienced in this level, know what to do, and good thing about tennis is that you always have an opportunity within a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks to rectify maybe certain things that you felt like were not working, and then, obviously I'm slowly building, and, Roland Garros on clay is where I want to peak, but of course I would love to try to get as far as in this tournament and also in Rome next week as possible.
Your last question?
Thank you.
Sky German, please.
Yeah.